Hello and welcome to the live FPL podcast by Fantasy Football Hub, the only place to be at 8 p.m. on a Monday evening. We are midway through Game Week 30, which finishes on Wednesday, and we are looking forward... Oh, God. Sorry. We will be looking forward to Game Week 30 and Game Week 31. Apologies there. We will also keep an eye on the Leicester versus Aston Villa game, which is starting as we speak, with a certain Jamie Vardy, a very notable and highly owned absentee. I'm joined by usual by Adam Hopcroft and Andy Green, and this week we are joined by a fantastic guest and Fantasy Football Hub contributor in Jon Ounsworth, who is better known in the community as FPL Coach. Jon is a vastly experienced manager, having played the game for over 13 years. He used to run his own site, fplacademy.com, a number of years ago, and after a break from content creation, has recently joined the Hub team with his new brilliant weekly feature, Coach's Notes. Jon, how are you, and how is your season going?
Hi Andy, yeah, I'm doing well, thank you. The season's okay, sitting around about the 100k mark at the moment. Game week 30 is, sorry, which one are we on? 29, sorry, is a bit of an odd one for me because I dropped the bench boost, but at the moment with Perez on the bench and no KDB, staring down the barrel potentially of 13 players. So it's a bit of an odd one, bit unusual, one that I hadn't really expected, especially the Perez not being in the starting lineup.
Yeah, and Andy, you're on bench boost as well, is that right?
Yeah, very similar picture here, though. I think I'm pretty happy with the McCarthy penalty save, although it was kind of after the sending off, it was I think they conceded in the 79th minute or something. So a bit unfortunate that I didn't get the Southampton double clean sheet. But right now on the bench, essentially, which I didn't try and muck around with the bench. I kept the bench players as if they would be in a regular week. So I'm currently sitting on 23 points, and I've got Saka again to play. So yeah, pretty happy with the bench boost decision. You know, I've been talking about it on here for a while. The De Bruyne thing is interesting because regular listeners will know we've been talking about the likelihood of key players from Man City being benched during Champions League games over fitness concerns. And it's finally happened, certainly with one game anyway. I think he probably will play some part against Arsenal, but we've all got him. You know, despite warning everyone that they may be rested, we've all got him because I think the game week 26 where he scored assisted against West Ham, we just felt he was kind of undroppable at that stage, but that might change going forward.
Okay. Just to say hello to all the guys in the chat. Hello to Ozspike, John Finneman, Carl Herve, Madro Concepts, all these guys. So Madro wants an Aston Villa 3-0 win. Carl Herve wants Perez to get points. 2 goals and assists from Grealish. We've got a few Villa boys on. Adam, what are you hoping for from Villa this evening?
I'll take 3-0.
Oh,
Grealish is in the box or no?
Sure
I've actually got Barnes and Pereira. I'm happy for them both to blank. Okay. I'll take the 2 points from both and a Villa win.
I'm sure you will. And just to say, for those who tuned in for FPL Saturday Live on Saturday, everyone would have heard me ranting and raving as I didn't play my bench boost as I promised I would, and I've currently got 33 points stuck on my bench through McCarthy, Lundstrom, Lascelles and Fleck. So I was in a bit of a sour mood on Saturday, but let's move on with the podcast.
Did you just forget to press it, Andrew?
No, I didn't, sadly, no. I actually took Mane out for a hit, but let's not go there because I'm going to break down in tears again before we go. Okay, so with blank Game Week 31 coming into view and with many current transfer decisions being made with Game Week 31 in mind, we are going to dedicate this podcast to looking for the key picks and differential options for this key game week. Thanks for the question on this at mbison22. To do this, we are going to use the Fantasy Football Hub Opta Stats and comparison tools live to demonstrate how Fantasy Football members get their key information to aid decision making. So just a reminder that the 8 teams with a fixture in Game Week 31 are Spurs, West Ham, Burnley, Watford, Liverpool, Crystal Palace, Wolves and Bournemouth. So Jon, as our guest, can I come to you first? Who are you looking at as your kind of must-have players in Game Week 31?
Well, yeah, so I think it's about the philosophy and the strategy that you're adopting for 31. So there's a number of people out there that are going to try and do a game of jiggery pokery effectively. I think the the Liverpool result in the cup changed things quite significantly, and obviously a lot of people have got 3 Liverpool, maybe 2 or 3 Wolves as well. So already it made that whole thing a lot easier for everyone. Yeah. But actually, I'm still going to play my free hit in game week 31. I decided this week. I don't know if any saw my tweet earlier on in the week. It was when I was on a golf course and just played a glorious shot down the 13th, and I just thought, I'm having a nice time on the golf course, and actually I enjoy this. This is my hobby, and so is fantasy football. And actually, I want to try and have a bit of fun with it, and that's when I decided, right, I'm going to bench boost this week, and I'm not going to worry about these players in game week 31 anymore. I'm just going to get the ones that I want in game week 31. And actually, I'm feeling in a much better position about it because, I mean, if I look through my TAA and I've got TAA and I've got Van Dijk, for example, do I really want this double Liverpool defence? And I'm looking at it now and actually, I haven't got a wild card anymore, so I've used my wild card already. Yeah. So from a personal circumstance, I'm at the point where I'm like, well, I'm probably not going to make transfers to get to, like, say, Mane from Van Dijk, for example. So actually, I've got the opportunity to just get Mane for 1 week. So for 1 week, I'm going to have Salah and Mane with Trent, and I'm going to have Doherty instead of Bolly, who I've got Bolly in my team, and I'm going to have probably Jimenez alongside Jota, and Dele Alli, and not necessarily just the players that I've already got and just try to fit in other players around them. It's that opportunity to take advantage of people who are going down that route. And okay, yeah, they're gonna have a free hit still available later on in the season, but I'm just trying to steal that early advantage by not just getting 11 players out on the pitch, but 2, actually getting the players that I would want to have in my team for that week.
Can I ask, John, because I'm in a similar position, having played my wild card, as have many already, with these kind of great game weeks coming up, or already past 27 and 29, essentially. How many players would you have in your current team? I know you've already discussed, switching around some Liverpool players, but how many players would you have if you used the number of free transfers you have left plus your current team? How many players would you have in 31?
So I think I already had 6, so I could have got to 9.
Without any hits, basically.
Without any hits, yeah.
Okay, so it really it's the kind of the reshuffling and getting the optimal players, in your opinion, that's driving you towards that free hit.
That's it, and also it's not losing those players that are going to have the double game weeks down the line, where I haven't got the luxury of transferring them back in with a wild card later on.
Yeah,
I must say I'm of a very similar mindset as well, and I think the game moves so quickly as well that the players that we think or thought we might, those in 31 who we've been planning for the last week or even the last month, who's to say they're even going to play in 31, right? They may go off form, they may get injured, they may get banned. You don't know, and this is why I'm also free hitting in 31. I'm a bit of an advocate of take the points that are in front of you. Having said that, I didn't bench boost on Saturday because I didn't think Lundstrom was going to play, and that's the only reason why. But I'm a big advocate of take the point in front of you. I think free hit 31 is a really good proposition and a really good time to get a mark, especially as we know now that 34 is probably not going to be as lucrative as we thought it might have been a few weeks ago. So, but yeah. So who are the kind of first names on your team sheet, John, for 31?
Well, like I say, I'm probably going to go that triple Liverpool and probably triple Wolves as well. So yeah, TAA, and then the opportunity to get Salah and Mane, which I probably won't have in my team at any other point for the rest of the season, and then Doherty, Jimenez and Jota if I do go down the route of triple Wolves as well. But then Dele Alli has impressed me in the last couple of games. I think they're definitely looking better in attack than they had done a few weeks before that as well. I've been really impressed with Dele Alli against who they played the week before. Was it Villa? Did they play the week before?
Wolves and Burnley last 2 games.
Wolves. Yeah. I just thought he looked so dangerous in that game. He was unfortunate not to score. So they're ones that spring to mind straight away. I'm keeping an eye on these Burnley Strikers. The stats for the Burnley Strikers look very good. Chris Wood and even Jay Rodriguez is a definite under the radar pick right now. But Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say there's Ismail Assar as well. Sorry, is another one that's definitely on my radar.
Yeah.
I'll probably be bringing him in. He looks quality, and I wrote about Watford this week in my article on the site. Unfortunately, it didn't get the result this week that I expected. But recently they've been playing very well. Obviously, their performance against Liverpool was top notch and massively unexpected. And the philosophy and style of game that they've adopted since Pearson's come in has really impressed me. And Sarr coming back into the team has took them up another level again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean they're ones that immediately jump out at me. Yeah. And then you can fill it up with Pope's an obvious one in goal potentially because of his save points, and if they get a penalty, then he might be good for a penalty save. Or Aurier as well is another one at the back. Looks like he charges forward quite a bit. I quite like the idea of a triple up with of Trent, Aurier, and Doherty in defence. That sounds pretty good to me. Tottenham ain't the best defensively, but hopefully you're getting some attacking returns already.
Okay, and Andy, is there anyone who John hasn't mentioned there that is kind of a definite in your team yet, either as a free hit or not?
Well, I think just to reiterate what John was saying, actually, I was at the Hill Cheaters event on Friday with Josh and Brandon, which was great fun. And I was discussing Ali with a few people, and he seems to be very much out of favour. I don't know if that's because people held him through a lot of those blanks in 2021, 22. But for me, he's playing, okay, he's not going to be, the kind of Aguero-style striker, but he is playing in that position. And, he's got essentially 2 assists and 1 goal in the last 2 games. And, the West Ham game looks very attractive. So I think actually, although he's actually only owned by 4.7% of players. So listen, I think if he scores in the next game or provides any form of return, he will be a certain pick in most people's teams against West Ham. Although West Ham, I guess, look slightly better than they have done recently. But I think he is the standout pick for that, aside from the Liverpool assets. I mean, Mane's probably the standout pick, but let's not mention him because you took him out. And the Wolves, I mean, those assets speak for themselves. We've talked about them at length, Doherty, Jota and Jimenez. And Watford, the only other one that hasn't been discussed, I mean, Sarr obviously makes that team tick. I think Deenie is still a bit kind of out of favour. Perhaps people start picking him up ahead of 31. He's got great returns, whether Sarr's in the team or not. And Doucouré as well is playing still quite an advanced role. And he's not obviously going to get the star returns that Sarr seems to be getting. But, quite happy with 6 points from a player that's 5.6, 5.7 at the moment. So no, I think I'd just be looking at, the kind of slightly under the radar types like Deenie. I'd even class Ali in that sphere, and then probably Doucouré as well.
Yeah, okay.
I've got a slight concern as well with Watford, obviously losing Deulofeu, and I just don't think Pereira has got any kind of the attacking prowess that Deulofeu has got. So actually, with Ismail Assar effectively out on the right, and Deulofeu out on the left, teams probably struggle to defend against that. But I don't necessarily think it's as much of a challenge now with Deulofeu out of the team. Don't know what you think about that.
Well, I mean, yeah. What time did he come off against Liverpool? Actually, came off after only 36 minutes, and they still played very well after that. I mean, yeah, of course, he's one of the key players for them. But I'd say though, Sarr, I've kind of described him as the Mane of Watford. He really makes that team not just play better, but play a lot faster and more direct. So, those are the assets I'd be looking at.
Okay. And Adam, have you got anyone else in your kind of essential list at the moment that hasn't been mentioned so far? Sorry to come to you last.
No, that's all right. I've been enjoying watching the game. So I would say that at the moment, I'm in a slightly different position to you guys. So I won't be free hitting. I've got Salah and Mane already. So I look at it, and outside Liverpool and Wolves, there aren't loads of players that excite me. So there's only 4 outfield players that have got more than 4 points per match, non-Liverpool and non-Wolves. Any ideas who they are? Live on air, under pressure.
I've got Watford's stats up actually, just on the thing, and it surprised me that over the last 6 games, per appearance, Foster and Messina have got 4.4. I'm not sure if this is the stat you're looking at, Adam. You might be looking at a different stat, but Watford defensively could potentially be an option there. They got average of this is expected points. So expected points 4.4 per appearance of the last 6 games. I thought was quite interesting. Above Decore, above Delafeo as well. But yeah, who are they, Adam?
So Chris Wood, 4.2 points per match. Okay. Sarr, 4.1.
Yeah.
Ali, 5.2. And PVA, Patrick Van Arnholt's on 4. Well, obviously he's got Liverpool away, so you might rule him out. But I think for me, I'll be looking at 3 Wolves, 3 Liverpool, and I'll be taking players that consistently get more than 4 points, because I'll probably bring in a couple for a hit. So I want that confidence I'm going to get a return.
Yeah.
Are you going to make 11 there, Adam?
No, I won't have a goalkeeper. I would do 9 or 10, and I'm not too worried, because I think if I'd wild carded, or if I didn't have Mane, I'd be more likely to free hit. But I just because I've got Salah, Mane, and I've got a route to pretty much any player I want, then it's fine. I mean, the one who seems to be coming into a bit of form as well is Callum Wilson, but I just think he's a little bit too expensive in comparison to the likes of Chris Wood and Jota. So I'd probably rule him out for that reason.
With the form that Spurs are in, and I believe we had confirmed earlier by Mourinho that the Bergwijn might be out for the season as well as Kane, who is back in training, and obviously Son's out as well, and they've been really, really struggling going forward and at the back. Is there anyone from West Ham? So I've just been looking now at the West Ham stats, and Antonio has got expected points per appearance over the last 6 games of 6.1 points per game. Antonio, is there anyone else from West Ham that kind of excites anyone at all, or he? Okay, don't have.
I wouldn't say they excite. let's be honest, they don't excite. But I thought they were unlucky against Arsenal not to score. I didn't watch the full game, but the highlights. I mean, Antonio and Haller should have had returns, FPL returns in that game. But
I find Antonio very wasteful. So he misses a lot of big chances. I think he's only returned in 1 of his last 7 matches, and players like that put me off. He always gets a little niggle now and then as well. So he passes the eye test, but I think I'll avoid him because he's close to 7 million, isn't he? So I think I prefer Sarr to Antonio.
Yeah, it's one of these things I took out. Even though I was aiming for 31 without any hits, I've kind of found myself in a similar position where I'm probably only going to have 9 players. And actually, I took out Traore last week. He is capable of a haul in any game, but you just can't trust that he's going to start. You can't trust he's going to play 90 minutes. And when you're coming into a game like 31, where you're only going to have, as Adam said, 9 key players, you just can't have a player like that who might get 1 point or who might not feature at all. So you really got to be going for as nailed on as it can get at the stage of the season, and also the players that are, likely to return.
Okay, if anyone in the chat wants us to use our comparison tool to compare 2 players, please let us know. It'd be really good if you wanted us to do that. We can do that live now on the podcast. In the meantime, moving on then, gents, in terms of differentials then. So, we've I think we're all well aware, of the Liverpool players, Wolves, people like Wood, potentially people like Sarr. There's been a lot of chat about these guys. Adam, could I come to you first? Have you got your eyes on any potential kind of low-owned players at all? Anyone who you think that people haven't been looking at all?
No, and I think there's a reason I haven't been looking at them. My view on this is to do the opposite, is to pick the players that are will have the ability to consistently get more than 4 points, and also that have a double-digit return in them. So I think Deeney's one that's been mentioned. So if you look at Watford under Pearson, he's averaging, I think, 4.4 points per game. I might be 4.5. So I like him. He is very different with Sarr in the team. I watched him at Villa Park, and he looked okay, but they didn't have Sarr. With Sarr in the team, he makes such a difference. And I know your point earlier, John, about Delafeu, but I think without Sarr, they look very, very limited. I think the only thing that I would say is that I think they're better at counter-attacking, and I think that's why it suited Liverpool. Palace were always going to make it quite difficult for them. I think Burnley might do the same. So whether they'll get any joy out of that, and you can imagine the Burnley centre-backs actually enjoying playing against Deenie. To be honest, there's nobody that hasn't been mentioned or that I'm currently looking at. I will stick to the tried and tested, and we'll probably stick with players that are capable of 4 points plus per match.
Okay. We were asked in the chat to do a comparison of Ali versus Antonio. So I've just brought up Ali versus Antonio. Ali, his form at home only, and Antonio's away form only. It's quite interesting reading, actually. So if you look at big chances created, key passes and crosses, expected assists, Antonio actually leads the way on that, and that's away from home as well. And he also leads the way for big chances as well. So Antonio away does look a bit of a prospect, actually. Whereas if we look at Ali at home, so he's got a slightly higher shots in the box, shots in target, shots in total, and they're very, very, very similar then for XG and expected points. So according to the Hub comparison tool, Antonio and Ali are actually quite close. So Antonio looks like one that he could be a really good option. I'll just have a look now. So someone's asked us to compare Haller v Wood, which I will do now. Andy, have you got any low-owned picks which you're kind of looking at the moment?
I've got some in mind, but I haven't really looked at them in depth, simply because I'm, similar to what Adam said, you kind of look for the short-term form as well. So we still have, game week 30 to play. I think after you do Haller versus Wood, I'd be interested if you'd look at Deenie versus Wood as well, because that's one I've been looking at. I think, as I said, I take John's point that without De La Feu, they're not as dangerous, but, I still look at Deeney's kind of output and the number of big chances he gets. He's on penalties as well, of course. Who would be on penalties actually for Burnley? Would it be, because Barnes is out, so would it be Wood or
Wood? I'd imagine. Well, Rodriguez has taken some, but I don't think Wood was on the pitch. So I think it'd be between Rodriguez and Wood. I don't think we know or have been in the position where I think Rodriguez definitely took the last one, I think.
Okay. Just to confirm that comparison then between Haller and Wood, if we look at the comparison, Haller has actually got a superior expected assists, big chances created, key passes, touches in the box, final third passes and through balls. He seems to be a bit more of a creative player than Wood, but Wood has much higher XG, big chances, shots in the box and shots and targets. So I think that's quite clear in the way they play, and it's also clear in the stats. So Wood at 6.1, he's also 0.7 less than Haller. I think Wood is probably the better option there. That's for the last six games there.
Yeah,
pretty conclusive there, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Wood's stats are always off the charts. I mean, I had him in earlier this season. He's very much a one-goal wonder. I'm saying this, he's probably going to score a hat-trick next game. But, his stats, he always has amazing XG. And it's just really the output from those stats that's, consistent. I mean, if you look at his returns when he's played full games, pretty consistent. But it's more a case of, you're not looking for the kind of hat-trick hero from him.
Sure.
He gets a lot of big chances, doesn't he, Chris Wood? So, I like him as an option.
Does he get the bonus? I don't know if he's one for.
I think he got bonus for the weekend, didn't he? I think he's got better at getting bonus.
Yeah, he got the 3 last weekend.
He tends to do a lot better than Ashley Barnes on bonus. He has over the last couple of years. So yeah, I think for 6.1, 6.2, I think he's a very good option. And 7 of his 11 goals come at home as well.
And the last pairing that we've been asked to compare were Deenie and Jata. They're very similar in the way they play, but Jata does outperform Deenie in practically every area. So higher than expected points, XG, big chances, shots in the box, shots on target, shots and touch in the box. The only thing that Deenie has over him, or the only couple of things, big chances created and final third passes. So it looks like Deenie is, again, a little bit more of a creative player, where Jota is the one in the box taking the shots and scoring the points. Again, those stats are for the last 6 game weeks.
One of the things you get with Deenie is you can be pretty sure he's going to play 90 minutes. Jota plays 65, 70 minutes literally every game, even if he's on a hat trick. So that's been consistent from last season. So it's just he seems a very feast or famine sort of player to me.
And
I do
like and the other thing
as well,
I know we're talking about form over fixtures at this point because it's what's worked the last few weeks, but Wolves have Bournemouth at home on 31, and Watford are up against the new Peter Schmeichel in Nick Pope, who seems to be, putting in 10-point games every other week. So in terms of opposition, I'd probably prefer Wolves fixture at home, but it's marginal.
Okay.
But then Bournemouth have got something to play for. Burnley haven't, which at the moment. So
should we compare Wilson against a person? Should we go for Deenie versus Wilson? That might be quite an interesting one, actually. Because,
little fun stat on Wilson. Did you know he blanked 15 games in a row this season?
Wow,
it's mad, isn't it? He's got 8 goals, but he blanked 15 games in a row.
Who started with him? Game week 1.
Oh, everyone.
Everyone did. Yeah. I'll tell you what, if you kept him all season and you're an active manager, that's the ultimate test of patience. You deserve the returns you're getting now.
Yeah, he went from like a XG of almost 2 per game to 0. Almost instantly. Absolutely insane.
Just in terms of comparing Deenie and Wilson, then again, it comes out that Deenie is a slightly more creative, whereas Wilson is slightly more attacking. So in the last 6 weeks, Wilson has had slightly more shots in the box, more shots and more touches. I'll just do a couple more of them now. If anyone does want us to compare any players at all, or wants to have a look at any team stats live, please let us know now on the chat. That will be good. I will have a look now at Jota versus Jimenez. So in terms of 31 then, guys, is there anyone which anyone is thinking about that we haven't touched on yet? Is there anyone left on anyone's lists at all that we haven't really gone through?
Not for me,
no. So in terms of free hitting then, so Adam, you said you're not free hitting. So how many players are you going to have in 31?
So at the moment, I've got 5 plus Rico, so I've got 5. I would say so. I've got 3 Liverpool: Mane, TAA, and Salah. I've got Bowley and Jimenez. I will have a minimum of 9, so that'll be 1 hit, possibly 10. I'll probably go that a goalkeeper. The players I'm likely to bring in, because it fits my format, will be Sarr. Will almost certainly come in. Sarr or Antonio, but I'm leaning towards Sarr. I will go with the treble up front, and I'm thinking probably Deenie and Wood to partner Jimenez. And then the other player that I think I will bring in is I've got Pereira, so I could easily put Doherty in there. So I could do that, and I'd still get to keep the likes of KDB, etc. But I could then do KDB to Ali if I fancied another gamble. So that would be a -8 over 2 game weeks, which I don't think will be a million miles off a lot of people's free hit teams with that. So I'm fairly happy.
Yeah. So John, what are your remaining chips, and what is your strategy for the rest of the season?
So I'll just have the free hit in game week 31. So which is why I'm now looking towards just trying to maximise my points early and not focus around that 31. I can just use that chip in 31 and just bring in the players that I want. Yeah. So this week I brought in Calvert-Lewin just because his stats just look so good, and I was impressed with him whenever I've been watching him as well. I watched a really interesting interview with Ancelotti, and he was talking about how he's so important to the way that they play alongside Richarlison. All the chips were falling. Oh, and he signed a new contract as well. So all these chips were falling into the right place for me. So it just seemed like the right transfer. So I lost Danny Ings, who obviously we know hasn't been in great form and been rested for a few games as well. And brought in Calvert-Lewin. And then the other one that I've been moving towards was to make sure that I could free up some money to get Bruno Fernandes. So, where people are saying, oh yeah, I'm going to make transfers and take hits to try and get to a team in 31, then they've probably not got a player like Fernandes in the team at the moment, or not moving towards players like that are in good form.
Okay. And how about you, Andy, in terms of your remaining chips? Have you got a plan in place now?
Yeah, well, these things change every day, but I would say that I'm not going to play the free hit in 31. I've currently got 7 players, and I'll probably head in with 9 without any hits. Although I might, as I said, I'm not that impressed with Aubameyang's returns, to be honest. So I'll probably use him as the kind of cash cow and go for either a Deenie or a Wood. Most likely Deenie, I'm leaning towards. And then from then on, it depends if I think De Bruyne is going to be starting these games. It's kind of up for debate. As I said earlier, we've kind of been predicting that this would happen. And, if he's got some small injury concerns, then he might be saved for the bigger games, as Pep said, or the cup games. So yeah, I might look to kind of free him up towards Ali as well. But yeah, so I'll probably head in. Don't really see a lot of interest in the goalkeepers, to be honest. So I'll probably head in with 9 or 10 outfield players.
Okay. Richard Kenny said he plans to use Philip Billing as an enabler in 31. A good idea there. Looks a really good player. Actually, thought so last season, but he seems to have come into his own this year. We've just done a quick comparison for someone in the chat. Jordan Ayew against Troy Deeney. Troy Deeney comes out on top. The only thing that Ayew comes out on top on is shots on target. Deeney comes out on top for key passes, big chances created, XA, expected points, expected goals, and big chances and final third passes. So Deeney has better stats than Jordan Ayew over the last 6. I will just go now. So I've had a request to look at Cathcart versus Kabasele. I will have a look at that now. Adam, as you move your team forward then to game week 34, have you got a plan in place in terms of in terms of the teams that we think may have a double in 34? Have you got a plan in place at all in terms of where you're going to arrive?
I will either, at the moment, free hit in 34 or 37. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to wait I'm going to wait until the fixtures are announced. So I've tried to keep it as flexible as I can do. Leicester have just missed a big chance, thankfully. Kept my calm there as well. So no, I'm just going to try and keep it flexible till we know the fixtures. And I think I do think 34 might not be as big a double game week as we planned, but I'm happy. I think I've got enough to be able to get through to 331, and then keep myself flexible for the end of the season.
Okay.
Worst case, if I don't need a free hit, I'll do it last game of the last game week.
Yeah. Just a quick comparison of Cathcart versus Kabasele. Unsurprisingly, they're very, very similar, but Kabasele is slightly ahead on points scored, expected attacking points, and on bonus points. So if you're looking at Cathcart or Kabasele, Kabasele does carry that slight attacking threat there. I'm just going to do a quick one of Pope versus Henderson now. I will have a look at that now. But in the meantime, we've got a question from Yaboha. So, John, I hope you don't mind answering a couple of questions as our guest. What should I do for this game week? I have my wildcard, bench boost, triple captain, and free hit. It's very hard to say without actually kind of seeing the team. But any thoughts in particular on game week? On game week 30, which would be coming up now. It seems a bit of a quiet week. I think if he's got all those chips, I would probably be tempted to, depend on his team, but probably free hit in 30 when I move on from there. Any thoughts on that, John, without actually seeing his team?
Yeah, I think if you've still got all your chips available, then you've got so many more options, and I probably wouldn't have gone for the free hit early or the bench boost early. Actually, I wouldn't have gone for either if I'd still had my wild card. But when I wild carded, I was probably about 250k, and it's made me a good 150k places in about 5-6 game weeks. So I moved early on that, and that's been to my advantage. But I think if you're still sitting on those chips and you've waited till this point, then I think your strategy is more around what Adam's going for in playing them around these double game weeks and trying to maximise the number of players that you've got, especially a bench boost. So when you know the fixtures and who's going to have a double game week, if there's a number of them, then look to wildcard before one of those double game weeks and then maximise to try and get hopefully 15 players that will have a double the week after.
Okay, thank you very much for that, John. I've just compared, so we had a request to compare Pope and Henderson for the whole season. Again, unsurprisingly, they're very, very, very close. But Pope does actually pip Henderson for over the whole season. He has slightly better baseline bonus points. He has slightly better bonus points, and he is better on bonus points. Henderson does have a couple more clean sheets overall, but in terms of FPL, credentials, it looks like Pope has been the better player over the season, which is probably...
Well, do you know what interesting fact about Nick Pope this season? He's actually outscored Aguero.
Right, blimey, that is incredible.
And it is, isn't it?
I took him out in Gameweek 24 on my wild.
We all did, because, and it was the emergence of McCarthy. And this, a lot of people I spoke to said, right, I'm going to have set and forget keeper Nick Pope all season. Will be a solid performer. Yeah. The fixtures started to turn. McCarthy came available at 4.3 mil, 4.4 mil, and we all jumped on him. And then it was 12 points, 10 points, 6 points, 9 points, 10 points. Yeah. So I think it's a good lesson for next season that, the set and forget keeper, if you can do it, you can outscore Sergio Aguero throughout the season.
Okay. Last chance, everyone. So if anyone wants any more comparisons or wants to look at any teams' stats, please let us know now. Or if anyone's got any final questions for the guys who get us in now, it's not very often you have three guys of this caliber waiting for your questions, so get them in if you want to. Quick question for Adam off Nuttafon Suman fan. If I have only 5 players for blank game week 31 and can save 2 transfers to bring it up to 7, or should I free hit or get a -8 to get 9? Again, it's very difficult without seeing it. I
think what I would say on that, it depends which players you've got. If you've got the likes of Salah, Mane, and the high scoring players, I'd be tempted, and depending obviously what chips you've got available, I'd be more inclined to save the free hit. If you haven't got them and you maybe would want Salah and Mane in and you haven't got one of them, then I'd be more likely to free hit.
Or you could take Mane out for a hit. That's the other option. Like Andrew Ferguson.
You don't want to do that. Come on. You don't want to do that. There was sound logic to the move at some point when I was drunk on Friday night, but it didn't work out well. We've just had one more request for a comparison. We'll just do this quickly now. Bruno Fernandes versus Ali in the last. I tell you what, I'll do it for the last 3 games actually, because Fernandes obviously was only recently signed. Very interesting actually. If you look at Bruno Fernandes versus Dele Alli, I don't know if you guys can see on the screen, but that is quite a surprise to me in terms of stats.
Yeah.
So Fernandes has got more key passes, slightly more crosses, slightly more through balls. So Fernandes is a bit more of a creative player, but Dele Alli absolutely smashes Fernandes on expected points, expected goals, big chances, shots in the box, and he's got slightly more shots on target as well, and they both have the same amount of shots. So that is very interesting actually. So those who are looking at Ali, he does look like a nice one to have. Question we've got from Ib Jamid. Andy, I can do this one. Should wildcard 32 teams have an aim for teams that blanked in 31, as they will double at the end of the season?
Yeah, I think it's something people don't really think about initially, but it's something that, if your player has not had a double game week, then he will have a double coming up. There was some talk of a potential treble, but now I think Arsenal's double game week is in 29. That's probably less likely to happen, but it's certainly something to be wary of if you've maybe used all your chips, or you certainly, you want to target some of those without chips. Then just be aware that those teams will have doubles, and let's not forget. I think John's kind of the best place to answer this, having used most of his chips or all of his chips. I think come 32, you really want to be focusing on the teams that have not only good fixtures but great form and are actually fighting for something. So you don't want to end up using all your chips and suddenly you're aiming for all the double game weeks. I think this double game week's a good example of it, where people are so fixated on the double game week. I saw people in my mini leagues bringing in Walker, De Bruyne, Ederson, and now they're left with a whole heap of players that are not maybe consistent performers in their team, or certainly not guaranteed to start. Just the allure of the double game week. So certainly, your 32 team onwards should be set for the rest of the season, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you haven't got that chip, or if you do use the free hit in 31, then you can start planning for that now. And you're not bringing in those players that, yes, they play in 31, but they've only got single games later on in the season. You're wanting to swap for double game week players. Like I say, if you've still got the wild card, then you're in that fortunate position to effectively attack both. But unfortunately, I'm not. But
sorry, John, I didn't put my head in my hands based on what you said. You can probably guess what's just happened. If you own Harvey Barnes, though, you might be quite happy because he's just scored.
Oh,
Harvey
I
Barnes.
do.
Yeah.
There we go. What a moment.
I do as well, and I was willing him to miss.
Oh, wow.
It's literally a bit of a goalkeeping error.
That Harvey Barnes over Perez a couple of weeks ago was, it's one of those 50-50s, isn't it? That kind of.
I know.
He's finished it well, to be fair to him.
It can define 100k rank swings either way. Decisions like that. Been making the wrong ones most of the season, but seem to have got that one right, thankfully. Last couple of questions then. Gravy Dave, John, would you take out Ings for Giroud?
Yeah, possibly. I don't think Danny Ings is doing it at the moment. He's really fallen off the radar, off the rails without Redmond in the team. I think that's been a dynamic that's grown throughout the season, and they've played well together. And I think perhaps he's having to play a bit of a different role with Shane Long. So yeah, he's just. I mean, don't get me wrong, he can still score goals, and he's still an absolute poacher and a quality finisher. But I'd be interested to see the stats of Danny Ings with and without Redmond.
Okay, so I haven't got it with and without Redmond, but what I have got on the screen for you are Danny Ings' stats from game week 18 to game week 26, which is in blue, compared to 26 to 29. So that's the last 4 games. And if we look, that is absolutely remarkable, the kind of shift there. So for those on the audio, he had more than double to even 3 times in terms of expected points, XG, big chances, shots in the box, shots on target, shots in general, and touches in the box during that period. His stats have absolutely fallen off a cliff in the last 4 games or so. Final couple of questions then. Matthew Stock has asked, I don't know which one of you guys can answer this. When are the later doubles going to be agreed? Which game will we find out? I believe it's after the FA Cup games, so it'll be after game week 31. Does that sound right?
I think it could be as late as 32.
Okay.
That we'll know, but yeah, it's around about that time.
Yeah. So it'll be after 31 anyway, won't it?
It will. Yeah, definitely after 31. And that's why I'll probably wait. If I wild carded for 34, I'll probably wait till 33. So I think it's quite good looking at players that have got good fixtures in 32 if you're playing 31. And to be fair, quite a few of them have.
Okay. Last couple of questions then. Millsy J, Andy, I don't know if you can answer this one. I've currently got 6 players for game week 31. I've used my wild card. Should I go with 8 or 9 and save my free hit? What are the benefits of saving it and plan to BB for 37s? We've kind of talked about this already, I think. 30, either 31, 34 or 37 or maybe even 38 are probably the best remaining options for free hit. Andy, have you got any specific thoughts to add to that?
Yeah, I would say that I'm very in favour of bringing in the right players for 31 for a hit, because really then it's, if they're guaranteed to start, then it's really only a 2-pointer. Obviously, if they get returns, then you're aiming for more than that. Yeah. But for me, the bench boost in 37 only really works if you've got double game weekers on the bench that are not just the kind of the 2-pointers. That's why I went for 29 bench boost, because I felt that there was more chance of a return. So I guess to answer Millsy, Jay, if you've got bench boost players in 37 that are going to play 2 games, then you might want to still stay with that strategy. Or you could aim for the free hit in 37 and bring in, the key players for 37. And in that case, you could be looking at either the free hit in 34 or even 31. So again, it's a tough one without seeing the full team. But I would say that, don't just be zoomed in on the kind of 37 bench boost, because if you don't have players that are playing both games, and it sounds like he's already used his wild card, so it'll be quite tough to get a full kind of turnout of decent bench boost players for 37. So don't be too kind of tunnel visioned on getting your bench boost in on 37.
Okay, so that is it from us this week, guys. Apart from my fumble at the start, I do apologies about that. I had last week's script in front of me, but here we go. So with all the talk of blanks and double game weeks, Fantasy Football Hub have got you completely covered. We have the ultimate guide free on the website on how to navigate the blanks double game weeks, written by 6-time top 1k finisher Abdul Rahman, aka FPL Salah on Twitter. Ably supported by Double Game Week Maestro Ben Krellin. We also have Ben's planning spreadsheets and FPL Jossie's fixture planner, all amazing tools that all Hub contributors use to navigate through the Double Game Weeks and maximise chip use. Thank you very much to Jon, FPL Coach, for all your insight and wisdom, and don't forget to check out Jon's article on Fantasy Football Hub. Coach's notes, new fantastic article out every week. Jon, where can anyone find you, get hold of you if they wanted to?
Well, yeah, so it's just on Twitter, really, at FPL Coach on Twitter. That's where you'll find me.
Okay, thank you, Jon. Adam, where can we find you?
A Hopcroft13 on Twitter.
Okay, and Andy, where can we find you?
I'm at FPL Fantasy Guide on Twitter.
Okay, my Twitter handle is at Fergie222. So this video recording will be on this Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel, with the podcast versions available in all major podcast libraries. If you like what you hear, please rate, like, share, subscribe, retweet. It all helps us get the word out and make sure you don't miss anything. All comments and feedback are very welcome, particularly on the live element of this podcast, and if it worked for you. Our Twitter handle is at FFH_HQ, and our podcast Twitter handle is at FFH_podcast. So please follow and feel free to ask any questions. Our website is fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, where you will find everything you need for fantasy football all under one roof, including player comparison tools, the fixture ticker, Opta stats, top player team reveals, and much, much more. We have demoed the Opta stats this evening, and also demoed the comparison tool. Everyone can see how powerful they are. They're absolutely wonderful tools, which all Hub members and contributors use all the time. They're absolutely brilliant. If you do fancy a free 7-day trial using these tools and everything else that the Hub offers, just go onto the website and sign up free for 7 days. And the link is below in the description. And finally, don't forget that FPL Saturday Live is back again this coming Saturday at 10 to 3. We'll talk you through the 3 p.m. Premier League action as it happens from an FPL perspective. So come and join in with all the live action. It is great fun and very interactive, unless you sell Mane for a hit and have 33 points on your bench. Then it is not fun, but it was still a very good day. We will be back live next week at 8 p.m. on Monday evening, and we'll be joined by none other than 3-time top 500 finisher, the FPL General, Mark McGettigan, will be back with us next Monday. You won't want to miss that one. In the meantime, we hope you have a good week, but far more importantly, we hope you get what you want out of Wednesday night's game, and you have a lucrative and prosperous Game Week 30. Just to answer Ib Jamin's comment, thank you guys, you are awesome. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I'm not sure who has been telling us otherwise, but we absolutely won't. Thank you, Ib Jamin, and thank you everyone for listening. Good night all.